My name is Brandolyn Karen. I'm a public information officer for the Southwest Area Incident Management Team 3 under Incident Commander Dave Gesser. Tonight, we've had a lot of activity throughout the day, as you guys probably well know. So tonight we will only have Incident Commander Dave Gesser and Planning Operations Trainee Corey Carlson available to take your questions. So go ahead, start dropping those down below if you have questions for either of those two, and we'll get to those after they present an update for today. Before we get started with that, we did receive a statement from the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, and I'm going to read that on their behalf. The Sheriff's Office is extremely busy with the fire tonight, and we regret we could not attend the Facebook Live presentation, but we would like to share some information with you. Fire activity this afternoon dictated new mandatory evacuations for Glacier View and areas along County Road 74E east of Red Feather Lakes. New voluntary evacuations for Buckhorn Road from Pennock Pass to County Road 27 were also ordered. Highway 14 is now closed at Stove Prairie Landing. Visit nocoalert.org to see a map of the current evacuation areas and road closures. The Sheriff's Office continues to provide 24/7 security patrols of the evacuation areas and the fire perimeter as we have since the fire started. The Red Cross has opened an evacuation center at Cache La Poudre Middle School in LaPorte to provide shelter assistance for those evacuated. Credentials are being offered for those in current mandatory evacuation areas, and we encourage residents in those areas to get their credential. You can go to Cache La Poudre Middle School Saturday or Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to get your credential. Please visit larimer.org and click the Cameron Peak Fire info link at the top of any page for more details. The Joint Information Center is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to answer questions about evacuations, credentials, shelter for you and or your animals, and how and when you may access your property. The JIC phone number is 970-980-2500. Thank you for your continued support. So with that, we'll move into hearing from Incident Commander Dave Gesser.
So good evening, Incident Commander Dave Gesser of the Southwest Area Team 3. As you've heard, busy day today. We had the red flag conditions today with our winds and low RHs. So we had gusts on this fire of up to 40 miles an hour today. We were able to fly aircraft until up to about 12 o'clock, and then the winds got too strong and we had to shut down all our aerial assets. So the fire did grow basically in two areas today. We had, Corey will go more detail into this, but we did have an area above the fish hatchery that was up high up on top of the ridge that spotted across the 14. And when that spotted across the 14 there, it got pretty established. Crews tried to go after it, but it got, as I said, with the wind conditions and things, it just really made a run on its own today. And then up on the north end, up on the thumb, things got active in there as well today. So the fire grew 6,234 acres within these two areas. So the fire currently sits at 111,114 acres. As you heard, Glacier View went into mandatory evacuations, and so we ended up also, just for firefighter safety, in case the fire did cross the Manhattan, which it has not crossed the Manhattan, we shut down all power to Glacier View, Red Feather, and Crystal Lakes. As you're all aware, know that if we left power on in there and we did get stuff across, it's just that safety of our firefighters so that we didn't have power lines coming down that are energized, and that's just more hazards out there for the firefighters. So really busy, and then as you heard, going back into voluntary down in the Buckhorn area, a lot of that was just due to some activity that we had down above Comanche Reservoir. That area, we just did that as a precautionary. The fire basically just rolls down a little bit and then runs back into itself. So like I said, again, that was just precautionary. a lot of great work out there today with the firefighters and the folks on the ground. As this fire made a push towards the Manhattan, with the system, the sprinkler systems and pumps and everything they have in place, they turned that system on and then had to get out of the area just because the head of steam the fire had. That more than likely helped raise those humidities in that area, put more moisture into those fuels, and with the evening coming in, the winds died down, and that temperatures and things started dying down as well, but that allowed this fire to slow down in this area. So the fire's still west of the Manhattan Road, and Corey will get into more detail on what the plans are with that. But just wanted to let folks know, you know, so far things are going well, but we're in for another tough day tomorrow. So we're gonna do everything we can tonight to try to secure some of this area, but tomorrow we're looking at the same amount of winds, if not a little more increased. And if we can make it through tomorrow and hold what we got, following days the weather starts to decrease, the temperatures, the high temperature is 45, and our winds die down quite a bit. We still have about 20-mile-an-hour winds, but our temperatures are really dropping. RH is coming back up. So with that, I'll let Corey Carlson, our planning ops trainee, come up and give you an update. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Corey Carlson, Planning Operations Trainee for Southwest Area Team 3. So I'll give you an update. I'm going to start down here in Comanche, up above Comanche Reservoir. So this piece was pretty active today as well. The most fire activity we've seen on this in several weeks since before the snowstorm. So what happened here is this fire just continued to back down towards Comanche Reservoir, and as it did, it would make runs back up into itself. So it continued to do that all day long, kind of flanking and quartering and moving back up. So pretty significant smoke coming off that today. You know, we do have a lot of folks in here. They continue to work the road system in and around CSU and the other values at risk. So we beefed up some stuff down here going forward, and we'll continue to keep an eye on this. Everything looks good in the park. We've talked about this quite a bit. Plans are in place for the communities down here should fire want to move that way, which we don't expect. Coming around to Long Draw, they just continue to work this stuff. They're going to be working it for a long time. Hotspot cold trail in, putting in line where needed. Up on the west flank where we have our containment, things looking good. And then it continues to look really good up through here. Obviously, you know, there's still heat in there. It's going to be in there for a while, but we continue to work folks in there day after day, you know, week after week, as well as heavy equipment. It's really important that we don't lose sight of some of this stuff as well, so we don't have, you know, problems down the road. As we come around, this area was worked for the last several days with crews as well. Also another important piece that we want to make sure we don't lose sight of, and, you know, have any impact to Kilpecker or up to Crystal Lakes. So as Dave mentioned, kind of a challenging day for us. The aviation, the helicopters, the rotor wing were shut down about noon because of the high winds. We were able to fly some air tankers periodically throughout the day, and that included the large air tankers and the VLAT. We had the very large air tanker in the DC-10 today. So, you know, it was early afternoon that we did get a spot that came from above the fish hatchery. This fire that was pretty active last night, which was the most active fire that we had last night. It spotted over and got established and made a pretty significant run, you know, in and along the 14 corridor, about a half mile from Station 2, where we have some operations folks staged out of. There was some power lines that came down across the 14 with the fire activity, and that caused some problems with not being able to, basically we had folks on both sides of that. So the good news is we were able to get folks around there to assist with structure protection in and along the 14 corridor on both sides of the power lines. So as Dave mentioned, the power was shut down as well, so that was helpful with those lines down. So this fire continues to move to the northeast. It's, this was a couple hours ago. I know it's still kind of hung up in this existing road system, the 171, 225 road system. This was an area that we've spent the last couple days and nights opening up with heavy equipment, and it's actually, it's slowed the fire down, along with, the sun going down and just general moderated fire behavior with cooler temps, higher RHs, and just downslope, less winds. The fact that it is in this road system here that we've opened is gonna help us a lot tonight. We're gonna be able to go in here, should fire allow, and hopefully be able to pick up some of this stuff. As I talked about the last couple days, if fire got in a 7 mile drainage system, it was gonna create a little havoc. It is in there. It's probably best that it's in there at night. Let it kind of do its thing under moderated conditions, so that it's not coming out in the heat of the day. Still a lot of work to go here. We're still a little ways from the Manhattan Road down here, but it is moved into a little bit more favorable ground. As unfortunate as this was today, the further this moves towards here, it provides us a little bit more favorable ground to work in. I can tell you that the Manhattan Road, where the hose, the sprinkler systems, the pumps are all all that stuff's been activated. The pumps have all been turned on, the sprinklers are going, and we're fully engaged all along the Manhattan Road and within the communities. On this northern piece, again, it came out where we thought it would on the southern end as well as on the northern end, just with the lack of air support. This blew out. Again, it is just shy of Bel Air Lake, a quarter to a half mile shy of Bel Air Lake. It's right along this dozer line in the Manhattan Road, and I'm fairly optimistic that the fact that it is really close right here and the sun has gone down, that we should be able to make a lot of really good progress in here tonight. I'm not going to say that we have a tough day again tomorrow, but if we can get a lot of work done in here tonight into tomorrow, this could be a huge win. So as far as resources go, I've mentioned, we have a very robust night shift. We've beefed that up over the last couple days. Today, we got from the state of Colorado, we got a surge of engines in here today with some water tenders and some overhead. We're gonna roll that group into what we call a swing shift, and that's where we bed some of these folks down. We work them really late into the night, bed them down for a few hours, and then bring them back up mid-morning. So we're gonna do that with that surge resource group, as well as a couple hotshot crews tonight, and we're gonna evaluate whether we can burn off this Manhattan Road into some of these road systems and potentially buffer this fire in there. So, that's going to be dictated by weather conditions tonight. We got to have the right conditions. We're going to let some of the sprinkler systems soak some stuff down. We're going to come up with a good plan, see where we can connect the dots, and if we can lay some fire on the ground and do a burnout to eliminate take some of the punch out of this before tomorrow, that could be huge. So fully engaged in these subdivisions out here. It's going to be a challenging day tomorrow. Gusts are supposed to be up to 60 miles an hour tomorrow. That's quite a bit more than today. So it'll be challenging tomorrow, no doubt about it. We're going to struggle with aircraft. We're on a little bit more favorable ground, but we do have a bigger fire edge up here, which winds are forecasted to be west into west-northwest, so that's going to want to push the fire down. But I think, as we all know, if it gets into some of these drainages, it's going to follow the topography, and we could potentially be up here on the Dead Man Road tomorrow, as well as down here low on the Manhattan Road. Let's see. So that's pretty much the update, I guess, for tonight. Continue to, we're fully engaged in here. We're fully engaged in structure protection. We're working these guys all day, all night, all tomorrow, and we're going to give it everything we got for sure. as well as, you know, the Buckhorn area who went on voluntary evacuations. You know, we haven't forgot about this area, no doubt about it. We have folks in there. We bolstered night stuff up is here as well, just to keep a close eye on that. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with Incident Commander Dave Gesser. First question is about aviation. So since aviation wasn't able to run much today, are you going to run aviation at night?
So no, we can't fly our aviation at night. We don't have that infrared capability on our on all of our aircraft to be able to do that.
Another aviation question. We've had a couple of people ask about our PSD operations. Have we been using those? Are we going to use those? And if so, where?
So we have used the PSD operations just west of Station 2. We did that a couple nights ago, and everything went really well there, basically trying to bring that fire down off that hillside. So everything went well there. PSD operations, we can't do those at night either. We can do them later towards the evening, just before sundown, and what we call pumpkin time. But with the winds that we have and the winds that are predicted, we can't get that aircraft up to be able to do that. So any ignitions they're going to be doing would all be hand ignition.
And for those that don't know, could you explain what PSD is?
Yeah, so they're little plastic spheres. They look like almost like a golf ball. And the helicopter has a little machine in them, and it shoots what's kind of similar to antifreeze. It's a gel coat that they shoot into these little plastic spheres, and they drop down on the ground, and they just start little, like spot fires almost. They're just little round fires that start once that ball ignites.
All right, next question. Can you tell us about the team transition coming up?
Yeah, so there's an incoming team. Some of them will be in Saturday, but they'll shadow with us all day Sunday and all day Monday. We have a lot of folks that are currently on the fire that will be staying with those folks as well, but they'll be taking over this fire on Tuesday morning at 0700. So there'll be a lot of download with operations, logistics, the planning shop, the ICs, really filling them in on what's going on and, you know, the priority areas, everything that's going on with the fire. But as I said, we're doing 2 days worth of shadow with that team to get them up to speed and really dialed in on what we've been doing on the fire.
Next question, can you tell us how many people are working the fire and what kind of resources we are currently using?
Yeah, so at this time we're probably, well, I would say we're right up at 1,000, just over 1,000 people. You know, our numbers started dropping for a while there, but we've been getting resources in since then. We've been trying to booster that up. So we're just sitting over 1,000 people, and that includes our engines, and that ranges in types. So you have type 6s, type 4s, type 5s, type 3s, and that's basically the typing is the amount of water they carry and the amount of personnel on an engine. And then we have the hotshot crews. We have type 2 IA crews. We have wildland fire modules, which are basically 10 people. We have, last count, we had 2 come in today, so I think we're up to about 12 dozers, 12 to 13 dozers on the fire, ranging in size from type 3s up to type 1s. We also have several water tenders on the fire. We have what we call feller bunchers for removing trees, skidders that drag the trees out. Our aviation, so as you heard, you know, we have 3 heavy helicopters, 4 medium heavy helicopters, and 3 type 3 helicopters, which are the smaller ones. And then we have 2 air attacks that they fire constantly. And then along with that, we have some excavators. We brought in the surge resources from the state, so we brought in an additional 15 engines there. But then we have our overhead structure as well. So we have our operations folks, we have divisions, task force leaders, heavy equipment bosses, and then the entire team, which consists of about 58 to, normally it's 58, but with this size of fire, we're probably sitting at about 100 team members.
All right, I know we've talked about aviation a little bit already, but can you talk a little bit more about why our helicopters fly the hours or times of the day they do, why they wouldn't be out at first light, why they're in at night, and just how we look at those pilot flight hours?
Yeah, so they have to have, you know, their downtime as well. So it's basically they got to get the 8 hours down. But we have to do briefings in the morning. So we get up pretty early. We do a briefing with all of our folks. So they have a briefing with all the air resources. And so we really have to dial in where folks are going to be working, what the missions are, because the airspace is pretty tight, as you know, in the areas we're working in. So we had at one point 11 pieces of aircraft working in a small area here. So we really have to coordinate that and work with folks to be able to coordinate that. So we get them up as early as we can get them up in the morning, and then fly them as long as, you know, we can, right up to that what we call pumpkin time. Unless we have the high winds, then we cannot fly the aircraft. The big thing with that, you know, we have had, and I'm sure a lot have heard, you know, we've already had within the fires out there 3 seats that have crashed. And then, you know, so we really take that seriously and really have to talk a lot with the mitigation measures and really coordinating the aircraft space as well.
All right, thank you. So real quick, just for those that may have just joined us late, we did have a statement that I read at the beginning from the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. That is pinned in the comments, so you can go on back and read that. Any questions you guys have in regards to evacuations, what structures may have been impacted, those notifications come from the Sheriff's Office. So if you have those questions, please reach out to them. And then also visit the nocoalerts.org and you can see the current evacuation status in place. For those of you that are interested on the distance from how far the fire perimeter is to your home, we do have a map that you can do that interactive where you can put your address in and search. We're gonna have a public information officer drop that link down in the chat so you can check that out. Please keep in mind that we're still updating the map on that website from the activity that occurred today. So please be patient with us as we get that in. And then if you have questions still, please feel free to reach out to us. With this, we'll do some questions with our planning operations trainee, Corey Carlson. All right, Corey, we've had a couple questions in regards to structure protection, what that all entails, and where is that occurring or has been occurring?
Yeah, so we've been doing structure prep for weeks. What structure prep is, sometimes that involves just fuels mitigation in and around the communities, in and around and on private property sometimes. But some of this stuff, like you can see these dozer lines here, some of these dozer lines we've put in strategically in and around the community. That's part of structure protection. Also doing fuels mitigation work in and around structures. Also part of that is just doing triage of structures so that we can better determine which ones need what kind of work and stuff like that. And, you know, that just goes into what kind of, you know, roof top do you have? Do you have shake shingles? Do you have tile roof? Do you have stucco siding or wood siding? All that helps determine, you know, what kind of structure protection is needed in there. And as far as what goes on in there is we have tens and tens of miles of hose strung out in here. We have a big above ground swimming pool type things that are called pumpkins. You know, they hold anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 gallons of water. We have water tenders all over the place. Some of those hold 5,000 gallons of water. You know, we have a lot of we got a lot of natural water sources here as well, and we have big pumps. We have just shy of about 200 of those big pumps in and around these communities, hooked up to fire hose, as well as sprinkler systems. And the sprinkler systems are no different than something that you'd use in your yard. It's just a sprinkler system with a hose hooked up to it. They stake it in the ground, and those are stretched out all along the communities, all along the Manhattan Road, and all of that helps. Plus, we have all our firefighters in there and their engines and crews. There's almost 1,000 people on this incident. Some of those are support people, probably closer to 850 people on the ground out here 24/7. And all those folks, a lot of them have engines that have water anywhere from 250 gallons to 850 gallons. And they're just out there, just like you would see, looking for spot fires, putting fires out as things come across or potentially impacting, the road system. So that's pretty much what structure protection means. It comes in all shapes and sizes and in all forms.
All right, Corey, can you give more info on what's going on in the Glen Echo area?
Yeah, so it's a little busy on the map here, but Glen Echo is back in here, as well as Rustic and Indian Meadows. This piece, there's dozer line in behind here. It hooks into the Manhattan Road. I mean, you can see the fire is here. We're hoping to, be able to corral this evening. We do got, the same kind of stuff going on down here with sprinkler systems. We'll have firefighters in there along these roads, along the 14 corridor, and we'll continue to do the same thing. We'll do structure protection, structure mitigation, and see what we can do to limit spread east towards those areas.
All right, thank you. We'll bring up our incident commander, Dave Gesser, to address something that's been coming through the chat in regards to activity on another fire. So we'll let him take it from there.
Yeah, so just clarification, I mentioned the 3 seat crashes. That was nationwide. We have not had those on this fire at all. I was referencing that with the coordination of our aircraft. So that, to be clear, we did not have any seats crash on this fire at all.
All right, while we have you, we've had a couple of folks ask about the power. Do you have any idea on when that power will be restored, or who they can go to get more information?
Yeah, so you can reach out with Larimer County Sheriff's as well, but for right now, with the winds predicted tomorrow, we're going to keep that power turned off through the night and into tomorrow until we know that this fire is not going to cross the Manhattan Road. That's for, again, the safety of the firefighters that are out here and working. So hopefully after tomorrow, if things go really well, we'll be able to re-energize that power line.
So in regards to that, with the power being off, will that cause any issues with our pumps and sprinklers currently out there being utilized for structure protection?
No, for our stuff that will not affect anything. Our pumps are all gas operated pumps that are set up out there, so that won't affect us at all. The water that we get, we can draw it out of hydrants or out of some of the reservoirs as well, so that won't affect the water supply for us either.
All right, thank you. We'll bring Corey Carlson back up. Can you talk about what activity might be going on down in the national park?
So down here in the Rocky Mountain National Park, things are looking really good. We haven't had much activity in here since it snowed a couple weeks ago. We did have a smoke popping up kind of in the Chapin Creek area. We hit it with helicopters and it eventually went away. We do, we've downsized a lot in the park. We've moved a lot of our folks up there, but we still do have a couple folks down here monitoring, keeping an eye on stuff in the park, making sure if anything pops up that we can hit it right away.
Can you talk to us a little bit more about trigger points and where those are located?
Yeah, so we have a lot of trigger points on this fire. Some of them are internal. Certain crews have trigger points. Different areas on the fire have certain trigger points. And what those do is, just for an example, if a fire reaches the 225 road, these are the things that happen next. And a lot of times that could be, we initiate, you know, a backburn along the Manhattan Road, or we turn on the sprinklers along the Manhattan Road, or sometimes it's for firefighter safety. You know, if we have crews working in on this road doing structure protection and the fire crosses, you know, this trigger point here, that could indicate that those firefighters need to go back to their safety zones. So everyone at all levels has trigger points, and they all mean different things for different things. The sheriff's office uses kind of trigger points for their evacuations based on fire activity, and hitting certain road systems or geographic boundaries prompts those things. So it's pretty much the same thing.
Someone asked if you could point out the Manhattan Road. So while you do that, could you also point out our other major roads that we regularly reference?
So one of the major roads here is Highway 14 that runs all the way along through here, right on the fire's edge, all the way through the fire and out the other side. So that one's a big one. Like I said, we have a lot of fire on the 14 road previously, and now again tonight. The Pingree Park Road, you guys may remember that from several weeks ago. This was a main road here that fire, you know, overran several weeks ago. We have the Buckhorn Road that goes down here. That's a major road. And then we have the roads that we're currently pretty heavily engaged on is going to be the Dead Man's Road. And this map is getting real busy, but right here, the Dead Man Road is here. So this is an area that's kind of a line of defense for us. We have some of these dozer lines in between there, and then we get to the Manhattan Road. And so the Manhattan Road comes down here. I'll try to follow it the best I can, but it comes down there and ties into the Highway 14. So, and the reason why we have some of these dozer lines intermixed in here, the Manhattan Road's kind of curvy, a lot of bends in it. It's best if we have as straight a line as possible to defend. As you get into these windy roads and topography, the winds get real shifty on those corners, and the best thing to do is just try to have as straight a line as possible. So in an area like the Manhattan Road, we've connected the dots with some dozer line. We've also tried to stay on some federal ground where possible, and then just some of this is just more favorable ground or a little bit better fuel type to work in. So Dead Man Road and the Manhattan Road and the Highway 14 are kind of the big ones currently.
So we have somebody asking about kind of more specifics on our water pumps. So how big of an area does a water pump cover, and how far do sprinklers spray? Is that like the same systems the farmers use?
Well, I'm not a farmer, but I think similar things. I would say they're more like sprinklers that you'd use around your house for watering the lawn or football fields or golf courses. It's that kind of a sprinkler system. Typically they're put on a stake. You can hammer that stake into the ground and hook up the hose to them, and they just do the fanning motion. And then the pumps are pretty heavy, big, high volume, high capacity pumps that move a lot of water through a lot of hose pretty quickly. And we have a lot of those out there, and yeah, it's quite the operation to hook all that stuff and then get it all started. But once it's going, it's produces a lot of water in a really short amount of time.
All right, thank you, Corey. We'll bring back up Incident Commander Dave Gesser. So we have a couple folks asking what they can do to help evacuees and also what they could do to help firefighters.
So the evacuees, the best thing is contact the Red Cross. The Red Cross is handling a lot of things with their evacuees. So if you're offering, any kind of sheltering, food, water, things like that, please reach out to the Red Cross. They are the ones that are handling that. As far as the firefighters, again, the biggest thing that folks can do is really post, the thank yous out there where the firefighters can see them. We take care of the firefighters pretty well. They're fed, they've got water, they got all the supplies that they need. But the big thing, and it really makes the firefighters feel really good to know that folks are appreciating what they're doing. So posting those signs out and about are really appreciative.
All right, next question is in regards to weather. People are wondering if there's any rain in the forecast or what we're looking at for the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, so moving into tomorrow, again with the red flag conditions, the temperatures tomorrow, the highs are supposed to be in the 45 degrees. So that our RHs are coming up as well. But there is that chance in there that we have now. There's calling for in the red feather area 40 to 50% chance of rain. I even heard tonight from our meteorologists that we could have snow up around that 10,000 foot area. Overnight lows tomorrow night, they're talking down in the 25 degrees, and then moving into the following day as well, those lower temperatures with the higher RHs. So we got some relief in the weather coming up, starting tomorrow, later tomorrow, and then into the following day.
So you already spoke about the power being turned off. Is the natural gas also turned off?
You know, a lot of the liaisons do work through that stuff. Currently, I do not believe that has been turned off. But if things were to happen there on the Manhattan, they will shut that off. But currently, I do not believe that's turned off.
All right, thank you. We'll invite Corey back up here for a couple questions. First question is going to be, are they working the new north end of the new thumb so it doesn't head off to the Dead Man's Road and Red Feather?
Yeah, so I believe you're talking about this piece. So this is going to be a high priority tomorrow, and certainly we're going to be stretched even thinner than we already have. You know, we got fire down here along the 14. That's been extended. You know, we have fire, you know, bumping the Manhattan Road, I guess you could say, and then we're going to have a whole line of fire here. I would say, you know, we will have folks up on the Dead Man Road. We'll have folks in the communities, and we'll also be trying to figure out a way to work this. You know, this 517 road that we had been using with dozers and stuff, it's across that, so it's going to take some time to kind of reestablish an anchor point where we can start going with direct fire line on there. So we're gonna assess, you know, our highest probability of success tomorrow and where we can make up the most ground. Like I said, we're gonna be heavily engaged tonight, all day tomorrow, just trying to minimize impacts to the values at risk, you know, while doing it safely and not getting any injuries. So we're gonna see what kind of ground we can make up overnight. Obviously, you know, conditions are gonna be moderated tonight, and we'll have to just see when the sun comes up tomorrow, you know, where we sit, what makes the most sense to direct our resources both on the ground and then in the air. You know, we'll get an early start with aviation before the wind picks up, and then, you know, we'll have to reassess. It doesn't take much with the forecasted winds tomorrow to shut us down pretty early. So, so we'll be watching this very close.
Has the fire crossed the Manhattan Road?
As of tonight, it hasn't crossed the Manhattan Road. It's close. It's about a quarter mile or a half mile from Bel Air Lake, and you know the Manhattan Road is basically right here, and the fire's right there. So I know that seems a little grim, but I'd say the good thing is the sun is down, the temps are cooling down, the RH is going up, the winds are subsiding, and this gives us an option to go take care of this. You know, we could potentially do a burnout here to eliminate the fuels between the Manhattan Road and the fire, or we could use some heavy equipment and beef up the Manhattan Road at this dozer line and try to get on the direct edge. All that's dictated by a bunch of things out there. You know, access has been a problem this whole time. Terrain, we have bug kill. You know, all it takes is for some of these trees to catch on fire and throw spots, and we're right back to similar conditions this morning, where one spot fire across the 14 road caused this today. So.
All right, next question. Can you say more about the Pingree Park Road area, specifically down by the Pennock turnoff?
So Pingree Park Road Pingree Park Road is right here. Comes all the way down there, and things look really good. This black right here is containment. You know, the Pingree Park Road went through here. This is all looking really good. Down here, you know, we do have a little fire in and above Comanche Reservoir. We're keeping a really close eye on that, trying to keep it from moving east. We have dozer line. We have road systems down here. We've been keeping this in check with helicopters and some single engine air tankers today and the previous day. But things look good along the Pingree Park Road. No concerns there for now, you know, at least as far as up to the edge of the black here. Everything in there looks pretty good.
Next question is, if the fire is spotting half of a mile in front of itself, why are your defensive lines not at least 1/2 of a mile wide?
So, a half mile wide line is, you know, that's, you know, just depending on this fuel type, we can get spot fires. It's not uncommon to get spot fires that are a mile. You know, once fire activity gets going, you see that the smoke column build. It's called a pyrocumulus. It almost looks like a big, huge cloud in the sky. What happens is that's all the heat coming from the fire. It goes up into that cloud, and as it goes off, you know, that stuff, those embers stay hot in there. So they can throw spots, you know, mile and a half, 2 miles, really. You know, we're not expecting that kind of fire behavior. The timber type and this situation that we're in with the bug kill, we're not going to get those huge long spotting distance, but it wouldn't be uncommon to get spotting, you know, half mile or a mile, and that's just too much ground to cover. As I said, the terrain is so difficult here and so steep and nasty. Even if you wanted to put a mile wide fire line, it's just not practical in this country. It would take months to do that kind of work. So you know, we try to get right on the fire's edge, and if we can, you know, just stop the fire basically in its tracks. But there's always going to be potential for spotting on this fire, especially with all the bug kill.
All right, thank you, Corey. We'll bring up Incident Commander Dave Gesser. I'm gonna kind of combine these two questions since they're so closely related. First one is, have you had a lot of injuries among your firefighters? And the second part is, are EMTs on standby?
Yeah, so we've had, you know, no real major injuries with the firefighters. You know, we've had a burned hand, basically just a little blister on the hand. We've had some twisted ankles, some minor cuts and bruises, but nothing serious with our firefighters. And yes, we do take our medical pretty serious, especially with our firefighters. So we have ambulances, medic teams surrounding the fire perimeter wherever those firefighters are working. So we have them on standby out there on the line with the firefighters as well.
So just to provide clarification on this, earlier you said firefighters withdraw once they turn the pumps and sprinklers on, but Corey does reference how we are fully engaged in this fire. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a difference there on what we were talking about. So when this fire is making a push towards the line, the firefighters, you know, they turned on the sprinklers, got all the pumps running and everything, and pulled back, because when you have that fire running at that line that we have in place there, we can't necessarily keep folks standing there with the potential of that crossing that and burning our firefighters. So when Corey talks about they're fully engaged, that's once this fire is laid down and we're able to re-engage where the fire is approaching our lines, we re-engage. Other areas of the fire, we're still totally engaged with other areas on the fire. But once, like I said, once this front is moving towards an area, we pull folks back for the safety of our firefighters. Once it's safe to re-engage, then our firefighters will re-engage those areas and continue that work. So that's what Corey and myself were talking about there.
Next question is, it sounds like Red Feather is just one spot fire away. Can you explain what can be done to get more resources?
Yeah, so again, you know, we're in national PL level 5, so there's a lot of other fires going on throughout the nation. We have been requesting resources. We've been getting resources in. At one point, we dropped down to about 800. Now we're over 1,000 people on the fire personnel. So we are getting those resources in. We still have resources coming in. Even today, we had several resources coming in. So we have those orders out there. It's just a matter of those orders being able to get filled. A lot of folks are out fighting fire in Oregon, California, and other areas as well. So we getting in, you know, what we can get in as we get it in.
All right, thank you. We'll bring Corey back up. Someone is curious about the 7 Mile and Swamp Creek area. Can you just explain a little bit more what may be going on there?
Yep, so we kind of drew in where the fire is currently, you know, as of probably an hour and a half ago. So fire is off the 14, and here is 7 Mile Creek, which the fire is in 7 Mile Creek in areas. You know, I've talked about this the last couple of days. The 7 Mile drainage system, there's a lot of sub drainages. Every time it gets in one of those sub drainages, it's going to get active. It's going to get pushed around with different kind of terrain in terrain driven winds. So it is in 7 Mile, and here's Swamp Creek. It looks like it's right on the edge or in Swamp Creek. So if it's not in there now, it will be by morning. So we'll continue to you know, watch it here, but you know, we got people in here right along here on the Manhattan Road, and yeah, so to answer your question, it is in 7 Mile and it is in Swamp.
All right, thank you, Corey. We'll bring back up Incident Commander Dave Gesser.
Yeah, so I know we saw some questions on there, but the next team coming in is a Pacific Northwest team, Type 2 team as well, Team 6. So they'll be coming in, like I said, behind us. But I just wanted to reiterate with folks, you know, everyone out there, all the firefighters out there are doing everything they can to help protect your homes and things that are out there. I know a lot of folks have been out and evacuated for quite some time now. We're doing everything we can with this fire. The unfortunate thing is, you know, those wind conditions, and we can't do anything about that. But folks are doing everything they can out there on the lines to protect those values. And so please just have the patience with us. Thank those firefighters if you see them out and about. They are working long hours. As Corey mentioned, you know, some of our day shift folks are swinging in tonight and will be working late tonight. But we have to also be able to bed those folks down and have those resources back for tomorrow during the day. So again, I would like to thank all the public and all the cooperators for all their participation, their assistance with this fire, and thank you.
All right, with that, we're gonna end this meeting. I wanna thank you guys. We've been watching the comments. You guys have been great in supporting us and helping answer each other's questions. So we really appreciate that. If we missed anybody, I apologize. We'll go back through and look at those and hopefully get you the answer or direct you to where you can get that answer. So just a couple things to recap real quick. Since we were only able to have our incident commander, Dave Gesser, and planning operations trainee, Corey Carlson, with us tonight, we did issue a statement at the beginning of this live from the Larimer County Sheriff's Department. That is pinned here in the comments, so you can go back and read that for information. Any questions about evacuations, the status of that, structures that may or may not have been damaged, all of that goes through the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. Any questions in regards to power can be directed to the power company, so reach out to them as well. Donations or wanting to help out the evacuees, please contact the Red Cross to coordinate with that. Beyond that, donations, we always encourage you guys to reach out to your local volunteer fire departments and see if there's anything they could use and how you could help them, or reach out to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation to help there as well. With that being said, don't forget, keep an eye on this Facebook page. We're gonna continue to give you guys as many updates as we can once we get the accurate and verified information, so that we can do the best to help you guys out and hopefully ease any anxiety that you may have. Check out our INSEE webpage. We have a YouTube page where we share all of our ops videos that we do in the morning every day. We will continue to do those morning ops updates for the duration of the team's time here. And then this video tonight, give us some time, it's gonna take to get that uploaded. That will also be available on YouTube. So share those links with your families and friends. We also have a story map website that has a lot of great information, including an interactive map that you guys can measure out the distance from the fire perimeter to whatever address you enter. With that, please just be patient with us on that interactive tool. Our crew is still working on getting the fire perimeter data to create that new map and get that uploaded. So if you don't see that tonight, check back tomorrow. We should have a new map ready for you guys then. And with that, feel free to call out our phone number, the Joint Information Center phone number. They're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then also feel free to email us. Our next update is scheduled for Monday evening at 7:30 for a live Facebook. For the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, like I said earlier, we'll continue to give you guys updates throughout the day as we get that information. Depending on fire behavior and the availability that we can get a hold of Corey and Dave here for you guys, if we need, we'll get an ops video up for you guys in the evening as well. No guarantee on that. But with all that being said, and with Incident Commander Dave Gesser's statement earlier, thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. Your support has been amazing, and we couldn't do it without you. So with that, have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.